Hey friends, welcome to the Elsa Kurt Show. I'm Elsa Kurt, and today I have a fantastic guest for you. His name's Jared Knott, and he is the author of Tiny Blunders, Big Disasters, 39 Tiny Mistakes That Changed the World Forever. Right after this.
Oh! What is wrong with you? Sorry, I thought I canceled this subscription and I still have it. I really need to figure out how to handle my finances better. Yeah, no, I used to have the same problem. I just use hiatus. Hiatus? It's super easy. I'll explain it to you. Just no more of those weird growly sounds, please. Download the app. You'll be able to see all your subscriptions and cancel the ones that you don't need or want. See which of your monthly bills are negotiable, and Hiatus will negotiate for you. And you'll be able to set up a custom.
Well, hello, Jared. Thank you so much for joining me. The first thing I want to say to you is thank you for your service. You are a decorated combat infantry officer from Vietnam in the First Air Cavalry Division, yes?
That's correct. Yes, yes.
Thank you so much for your service.
I appreciate it very much. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you. So I want to jump right into it because this book sounds so fascinating. I was able to take a quick look. It's in my to-be-read list. It's going to be the next up in my nonfiction books. So, I have like the whole stack of books to be read. That's the next one in nonfiction. So I'm really excited about it. Let's start with your interest in writing this book. First of all, it's an international bestseller. I want everybody to know that. And you told me before we get on, how long has it been on this list?
It's 26 months. Yes, it started. It'd be 26 months as of February 2nd
Wow.
on the Amazon bestseller list. Yes, yeah, we've been very pleased.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we sold 20,000 copies and still going strong.
That is so cool. Now tell me, what made you interested in writing this book? Have you always been a history buff? Has this always been your lane?
Yes, going back to when I was a teenager, I was always interested in history. And the inspiration from the book comes from the old adage coming down from Benjamin Franklin, that for want of the nail, the shoe was lost. For want of the shoe, the rider was lost. The battle was lost. The empire was lost. The empire was lost, all for the want of a nail. That's a nice old saying, but so okay, but how often does that really happen that a single tiny mistake causes an entire empire to collapse 39 times? It's actually, the book has 40, and we have a sequel coming that has another 35. So it's amazing how many mistakes there are out there that can have a disastrous outcome. You don't realize at the time, this little tiny mistake, boom, 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 down further on down the domino chain has a huge disaster.
So, conceptually, it's something I've talked about. I won't speak for everyone, but, I've talked about many times over how just just the tiniest thing in life can change the whole course of your life, just on a personal level. So when you take it on such a big scope like history, things that changed history, and that you can trace it back to like this one moment, this one pivot where everything changed, I think is so fascinating. How did you choose the stories that you did? Because there are some absolutely incredible stories in there. There's one, you have one chapter on Hitler, how he it says, how many times did he graze death in the years leading up to his suicide? And you have all of that in this chapter and explains. That's just fascinating to me.
Yes, it's amazing that he lived as long as he did. He had one close call after another close call after another close call. One of the big ones was that there was a man who nearly changed World War II. He got into the huge hall where they were going to have a meeting, and for over the several days leading up to the big meeting, he had put together a time bomb set to go off at just one particular moment when the big kind of concert and the big speeches were being made. But Hitler left the concert hall just 15 minutes before the bomb went off. They're going to have to, because of the weather, they're going to be leaving a little bit earlier. But if it had not been for that, there might have not been World War II at all. That's just an example after example. Where it seems like some people think it was like the hand of the devil was keeping him alive until he committed suicide in 1945.
It is really stunning when you think of things like that, these near misses, and it's really hard to not wonder at, the why of things. And I guess that, we'll drive ourselves crazy if we do that too much. But yeah, how differently things could have been and would be today, of course, had, just for his example, had he died sooner, earlier, at a different point in
Yes.
life. Was there a story, and it's okay if you don't want to give away too much, was there a particular story or incident that caught you off guard that you weren't expecting? Was there one in particular that stood out to you?
Well, there's a long list. The
Mm.
one that it kind of sticks in my mind when you asked that kind of question was, here's the teaser, is that one single a single document poorly designed by one single clerk in one single county changed the outcome of a presidential election and led directly to a major war. The war would not have taken place except for this single tiny mistake. It has to do with the 2000 election. It's not the hanging chads. It was a very close election, but it was down there in the county that the lady who was clerk of elections, she designed a ballot, and she made the print real big so the older people could read it easily. And it was 2 pages the way she designed it, kind of a butterfly ballot, they called it. And it had a series of holes, punch holes down the center, with list names on the left-hand side and list names on the right-hand side. Well, it was very confusing. Al Gore was the number 2 name on the left-hand page, but he was the number 3 punch hole. The number 2 punch hole belonged to Pat Buchanan on the right page. Well, it's very confusing. Some people punched the hole and thought, gee, well, this is number 2 name, but number 2 punch hole, but they were voting for Pat Buchanan by accident. And then some people got confused. They punched 2 punch holes, which invalidated the ballot. Anyway, Al Gore ended up losing the state by about 476 votes. And they think if it had not been for this confusion, he would have won it by 3 or 4 or 5,000 votes. He would have been elected president of the United States. Florida made the difference there. And he was adamantly opposed to the war in Iraq. Okay? So the war would not have taken place. And the entire conflict, which most people think was a mistake, would not have taken place except for this single tiny mistake. And they had this nice lady, I will not say her name, they had her on one of the morning talk shows, and they were saying to her, people are saying that you're responsible for this war. And she was kind of in tears. And we appreciate the fact that you're in tears and you have great regrets. And a very nice, honorable, intelligent lady. But that one little mistake changed history in a huge, huge way.
Wow. Wow. Tell me about why 39 mistakes. Is there a particular reason for that specific number?
Yes, the actual number of stories there is probably closer to about 43 or 44. We're actually giving you more than what we promised. But 39 had kind of a nice ring to it. Just like you go into the store, there's something that's for sale for $9.95. That sort of thing. They call it a natural price point. 39 just had kind of a nice ring to it. But really, we're giving you more than 39. So.
I like that. How hard was it to pick the stories? Because you have a follow-up book, a sequel coming, more than one. Did you say 1 or 2 sequels are going to be coming?
Well, actually 2. Actually 2.
2, okay.
The first sequel is Tiny Blunders, Big Disasters. Number 2, even more tiny mistakes that changed the world forever. And I have another sequel which has to do with crime, which is not still in the pipeline.
So obviously it takes a ton of research to narrow down what that one thing is. Can you tell, is it even possible to tell me about the process of figuring that out, what that one mistake was? Or was it laid out for you already? Like, is this stuff that you found?
No, I tell people that my mind is a giant trash bin of trivia. Okay, and I can remember stuff that I read. I may forget where I put my keys, but I can remember stuff that I read 30, 40, 50 years ago. As I began thinking about it, I remember one example, then another example, and another example. Plus, you have doing a lot of research in the various fields. And so at first I started off with just about 10 examples. And I thought, well, that's going to be enough maybe for a magazine article. But it just kept accumulating, and there was more and more and more and more. And we had a pretty good sized book at 430 pages. And then, of course, we have a sequel coming. It's going to be another 300 some odd pages. So there's lots of goof ups out there. Small goof ups that have big consequences in the long term.
It's so incredible to even imagine that, such little things can change the course of everything. But of course, it makes perfect sense. We talk about the butterfly effect, and they
Mhm.
make movies on that, of course. And um, were so are in the book, are all of these stories negative consequences of these little incidents, or is it a mixture of happy accidents, so they're called, or
Well, yes, the unfortunately, of course, tiny blunders, big disasters is a list of big disasters. Unfortunately,
yeah.
I like to think of myself as a positive person, but the subject matter, by its very nature, involves things going wrong. I do put in a few positive ones in there, just kind of clear the air and give
You
us a little
snuck
bit
a
of
few in
positive.
for you snuck in a
That's right.
few for us optimist terminal optimist here, like, give me something good.
Yes, yes. There was some close calls
Yeah.
because instead of making a mistake, you had someone that showed courage and determination, was able to flip the switch the other direction. World War
Mm.
II has two or three of those, and it is positive. I think it would be a positive overall story. I'll mention too you mentioned the butterfly effect. That phrase was coined by a mathematician, Lorenz. He was Alfred Lorenz, and he was a major mathematician back in the 1950s and 60s. They do not give an award, a Nobel Prize for mathematics, but if they did, he would have won. He won the equivalent of that in his field. And what happened was, back in the 1950s, he was having the computer run this program as a weather prediction. Okay, it was taking a long time for the computers that day to complete the program. So he said, well, here's this number with a decimal point and like 18 numbers behind it. And it gets infinitesimally small. Gee, let me just lob off six of those numbers. Okay, and it's such a small amount, it won't make any difference in the outcome. And he was absolutely amazed, okay, how the multiplier effect was so tremendous. And he was saying that means that if a butterfly was flapping its wings in Brazil, they could set off a chain reaction so that a year and a half later we have a cyclone in Texas. And he made this
Mm.
presentation to a group of mathematics and mathematicians, and that's where the concept comes from, because it's very much a real thing. One domino hitting another domino, hitting another domino. It's like somebody's leaving San Francisco and they're heading towards New York, but the compass is off just like a half a point or half a degree, and they end up down in Miami or something like that. That's somewhat comparable to what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you always find yourself thinking that, any given moment things could be so different based on, taking a left turn instead of a right turn, and going into, but I know there's so many people who talk about 9/11, and you hear the stories of people who didn't go into work that day for just a very small shift in life. Something just simply altered their path that day, and it's just so incredible how that effect actually happens and changes the world. Now, does your how much into the near future is the best way I could think of to come up with this question? It's not very good. Um, is this book up to? Like, where do you end? Is it in the 90s? Is it 2000s? Or
But 2000 is where it ends,
okay.
but then, of course, like I say, I'm writing a sequel, and there's a lot of we have a rich load of mistakes that have taken place in the last several years, which will be in the sequel. But it goes all the way back to ancient times. One of the examples from ancient times was that a soldier accidentally kicks a helmet off the top of the wall, and it causes an entire empire to collapse. And that's, huh? It was like, what? But I mean, it's not an exaggeration. I tell people that sometimes you're in the grocery store and there's this a tabloid and it has a teaser headline on the front. You look it up, you read it up inside the magazine, and it was misleading. It's a big letdown. But each of these teasers is not a letdown. It is exactly what it says it is, and without
Mm.
exaggeration. But that was, let me just start telling you that real quickly, if you like, has to do with Cyrus the Great, who is mentioned in the Bible He was the one that gave the children of Israel their freedom from bondage in Babylon. Anyway, he was one of the early world conquerors, and he was his empire, the Persian Empire, was moving more and more into a conflict with the Lydia, which was who was their emperor was named Croesus, from the expression "riches Croesus." They were moving towards a huge war that was getting ready to take place. And Croesus sent representatives over to the Oracle of Delphi, and he wanted to see and when he sent them there, they splashed around a lot of gold, a lot of silver. That's where he gets the expression, riches Croesus. So but anyway, the Oracle, actually counting up the gold, the Oracle came down, and there was a woman who was as the spokesperson for the oracles, and she said that yes, a great battle will be fought, and a great empire will be lost. Well, he took it to mean that the other empire was going to be lost, and his was not lost. I guess they kind of slanted it that way. But anyway, so the war is joined, and the Spartans are on the side of Croesus. He probably paid a lot of gold to be on his side, and they fight to what amounts to a draw. Okay, these two empires. Well, okay, then Cyrus packs his men up in his ships and sails away. Okay, well, it looks like we won. Croesus thinks, and so the Spartans leave, but they don't call him Cyrus the Great for nothing. He tried about 5 or 6 days later. He turns around and comes back in there, and once again joins the battle. He wins the initial battle, and then Croesus brings his men into a giant fortress there, high on the mountain, and these Spartans are coming. Winter is coming, and Cyrus the Great may have himself in a box. He does not have enough supplies to supply his men all the way through the winter. So anyway, he may be in a serious jam. But here comes the tiny mistake. A soldier on top of the wall actually kicks the helmet off the top of the wall and tumbles all the way down to the bottom. The soldier climbs off the top of the wall and walks down a secret passageway all the way down to the bottom, gets his helmet, and goes all the way back up. One of Cyrus the Great's men would say, whoa, look. There's a secret passageway up the side of the wall. And so the next night, a raiding party climbs up that same pathway. They go over the top. They go over there and force open the gates. Cyrus's men are waiting right there to come flooding into the city, and they defeat the Lydian Empire, and it becomes a huge turning point in ancient history. Now, if it had not been for that single mistake, rather than being called Cyrus the Great, he might have been called Cyrus the Chump. So just
yeah,
a huge difference.
What a fascinating story. That's just so amazing. How long did it take you to do all this research, compile and publish this book? That's the author geek in me. Like, I'm always curious about time and process for fellow authors. How long did that whole process actually take?
Yes, it actually took about 11 years. I was working full time. I have 5 children, and I have a wife that needs attention. So it was a slow, steady process. And now I'm semi-retired, and so I can get the next book published, printed and written much faster than the old one. But it was a long, laborious process, just one step at a time. But fortunately, I really enjoy, as I'm sure you do, really enjoy writing, and so it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole process, I think, is I love every part of it. I love the research. I love the actual writing. I actually love the editing. Do you love the editing or hate the editing?
No, I love the editing. It's like you're building something step by step, and it's starting to take a form in front of you, and then you change this and improve this, and it can get more and more. It starts to move in the direction you want it to, and then when it's finished, hopefully you're very happy with it. That you look what I've done, and that's a feeling of satisfaction. Of course, I send it out to other people, and they don't always agree, or they make some major suggestions, and that incorporates a lot of ideas in the final product that makes it strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it too. It's so much fun, I think. I know there's other people who are like, oh no, I hate the editing process, or they hate certain parts of it, but I think all of it is exactly like you said. It's just getting it towards that point where it's ready to go out into the universe and for people to read it. So can you give any sneak peeks inside the next book? Any little tidbits that we can sneak out of you?
Yes, there's, of course, a number. There's going to be a long section there on failure to listen. Certain people were
Mm.
warned about something and they ignored the warnings, and then a disaster resulted. The biggest defeat in the history of the Roman Empire took place in the German Black Forest, and the leader there of the Roman forces was warned that who he thought was an ally was actually about to betray him, and he scorned those people who were warning him. You know what you're talking about. I know this gentleman very well. He's loyal to the Rome. He would never do something like that. And of course, gigantic ambush of the Roman army there. The legions were massacred almost to the last man. And it was, if he had just listened, of course, it's easy to say that in hindsight, but if he had just
Sure.
at least done more research and more investigation into the warning, he might have seen this horrible disaster coming down the pipeline.
Oh boy, there's going to be some good stuff in there.
Here's another one, kind of interesting. This is kind of like the congressman. Congressman Mays was his name. He was from Kentucky, and he was on the, I think, Armed Services Committee back in World War II, and he discovered that the Japanese thought that American submarines could only go down to a depth of about 150 feet. And so they were dropping their depth charges at about 120, 150 foot level. Well, American submarines, in fact, could go all the way down to 300 or 400 square feet. So their depth charges were not being effective. And so the blabbermouth, Congressman Mays, he was over in Hawaii and he gave a press conference. Yes, those dumb Japanese, they keep dropping their depth charges too shallow of water, and we're so smart, and we avoid any kind of damage from the depth charges. Well, he made this public statement. They have Japanese spies in Hawaii. Plus, he goes out to wire services and gets a worldwide exposure. Well, okay, the Japanese are not stupid, and they realize their mistake, and they begin dropping the charges down to the 300-foot level, and it starts sinking a lot of ships. There's the admiral who was in charge of the Pacific during the war there was saying that they believe that they lost about 8 to 10 different submarines as a result of this mistake, and about 800 men were killed as a result. So it was kind of like a, don't you know when to shut up? I mean, it was incredibly stupid, and now said in front of the entire world.
Wow. So tell me a little bit, if you can. Let's talk for a minute about history in the making, about what's going on right now, specifically with Ukraine, really, and Russia, and the potential for a third world war. Do you know of any of the incidents that have been going on? Do you know of any small things that have tiny blunders that have set this course in motion?
Yes, that might belong more in the category of a major mistake. Now, I don't want to get too political. However, Donald Trump told Biden, I'm sorry, told the Russians, communicated that if they were to invade Ukraine, that he would bomb Moscow. Which is, of course, a very bold statement, but they believed him. And so during the Trump administration, Putin did not engage in any adventurism. They had taken over the Crimea during when Obama was president, but during the Trump administration, they were not being aggressive at all. They saw the blundering mishandling of Afghanistan, and so they were under the impression that Joe Biden would be a very weak, disorganized kind of leader. They took over Crimea in just about 4 or 5 days. We sent the giant Russian army into Ukraine, and in the space of about 6, 7, 8 days, we'll have it under control, and we can only have to worry about the consequences as a result. Well, of course, they not counted on the great determination of the Ukrainian people, and so also they had not counted on the sloppy internal organization and horrible problem with the logistics the Russian army does, and so they were not ready for prime time, and their losing pretty badly when you add up all the casualties and all the failures that they had. So that was really more of a major mistake rather than a minor mistake. And it's dragging on. I'm not sure how it's going to come out in the end, but I don't think that the Russian army has any chance of winning.
Yeah, this is going to be, like all major events in history, of course, this is going to be one of those things that when we have some time and space and distance from it to look back on, and fortunately we have somebody like you that's going to be able to find those little details and figure out all of those little things that happen. So down the road, when we have some space from this, I look forward to seeing what you're going to unearth about this all. This time frame that we're living through right now. So get ready for that one because I'm waiting for it. I apologize. I've got my phone going off on me here.
Yes, if you go back to just certain basic principles, history teaches us very few clear-cut lessons. One of them is that weakness invites attack, and the strength, of course, discourages and repels attack. Again, I'm not saying somebody would don't like Donald Trump, but the war in Ukraine would never have taken place if he had been president of the United States this last 2 years. And also the situation there with China and Taiwan, that is a case where it calls for a strong military presence that would discourage Chinese adventurism there also. So that's one of the things that you have to keep in mind whenever you're facing these aggressive opponents in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell everyone, if you would, where they can find your book and your upcoming books and your website and where they can find you. Are you doing any book signing events or talks anywhere at this point?
Yes, I'm going to be speaking at a number of American Legion locations there, and we give away a free book and then encourage people to, if they don't win, maybe to consider purchasing the website from the website. My website is Tiny Blunders Big Disasters, BigDisasters.com. And so if you just go there, that will take you to the website. It has 2.5 free chapters. Also has a book trailer, and it has one of my favorite parts of the book is the portrait gallery, which has like 27 different personalities with a little bit of dirt on each one. I can't really say that, but so it's kind of a fun website and we think a fun book to read. Tiny Blunders, BigDisasters.com. Okay, and you go to the website, and from there you can make a purchase if you like.
I love it. And there's something else you have on that website too. There's a quiz or something that you can do. Is that right?
Yes, we have a fun quiz. I always put fun in there so people are not in any way intimidated. It's just a fun quiz. You can have that. There are actually 2 book trailers there, and that's kind of a fun part. We want for it to be kind of an entertaining, fun kind of experience going to the website and ordering the book. We hope.
I love that. That is so awesome and fun sounding. So I am going to go back on there and take the quiz. I was going to do it, but I ran out of time. So I'm going to do it. My test anxiety is starting already, though.
We don't keep any records on how well you did or anything like that.
Good. Okay. Good. Nobody will know. Nobody will know if I'm a big dummy. Oh, that's fantastic. Jared, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing all of this incredible stuff with us. And these stories sound so amazing. I really look forward to reading them and on showing off how smart I am after reading your book.
Yes, it should be a fun experience and an enriching experience, both, we hope.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was an honor to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys. This has been the Elsa Kurt Show. I hope you enjoyed. Go check out that book, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care.